Coming to you from sunny Orlando, Florida, welcome to the Paperstac podcast, where we cover current topics in the note industry, give you tactics for your note business, and talk with industry leaders to make you a better note investor. And now, your hosts, Brett Berkey and Rick Allen.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Paperstac podcast.
So almost 40
episode. I'm not even keeping count anymore.
We've been doing it a year now.
Yeah,
we started in the
pandemic
when we were all stuck at home, doing it from our back patio where no matter when we decided to do it, somebody decided to mow their yard.
Yeah, they're always mowing the lawn.
Like, oh my gosh, why is there always someone mowing their yard?
Here we are in our studio, ever-changing studio. So yeah, back for another episode. So excited today. Got somebody who's been in the industry forever, a friend, colleague, done business with him, used his services. So we're super excited for this one. This particular one I've been looking forward to for a while. Dickie Baldwin, thank you for joining us today.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing wonderful.
Awesome, man. Well, I kind of alluded that you've been in the industry. I know you've been in the industry a while. Definitely since I've been in the industry. I think one of the first major trades I did was with Dickie, unbeknownst to me, probably unbeknownst to you. I want to give you a chance to sort of unpack and tell everybody about yourself. Anything and everything you want to share that I may know or not know, and our users would like to know. So for that, take it away, man.
Fantastic. Well, once again, guys, thank you so much. I should have worn my Paperstac shirt. Darn it. But where's yours? No, thank you, guys. Seriously. And yes, Rick and Brett, we are definitely friends and colleagues, and I feel very fortunate to be able to share a little bit about myself and let everybody know what I hope I can do to help them become successful, especially in the note industry, because that's primarily where we are right now. So a little bit about Dickie Baldwin. Been in the industry close to 40 years now. It was in 2018, because of turning 70, I wanted to retire. I talked to you all about it. And after a couple of days of being retired, and Rick, you and I are golfers, and knowing that I couldn't get a hole-in-one every time I go out and play golf, I decided to go back to work. Why did I go back to work? Well, as I said, with 40 years experience in the industry, started out as a real estate agent, then became a mortgage loan originator. I did wholesale lending, correspondent lending, warehouse lending, set up multiple net branch mortgage operations across the country, been in the title industry, as well as being in everybody's shoes that's on this podcast, an investor. And as Rick mentioned, way back when, and I guess, Rick, you always told the story about why Paperstac really got started was because of a trade that you were doing with me. So with all that being said, after the 40 years and knowing that I know so many great vendors as well as investors in the industry, I was always seeing that something was missing, especially for a brand new investor. You hear the word BPO. What in the world is a BPO? Well, once you figure out that is a broker price opinion, then now where do I go? Oh, well, let me get on the internet. Well, geez, you get on the internet and try and find a broker price opinion and or call a local real estate agent to do a broker price opinion, it's a nightmare. You just don't know what you're doing. And so with the BPOs, the title searches, all of the different things that I feel that an investor needs at their fingertips, I started Baldwin Advisory Group, goes by BAG, BAG, and slogan, one bag for all your real estate services. So hence that was the beginning in 2018 of the BAG website, and it's basically a place where not only the brand new investor can come, but even the seasoned investors to do anything and everything that needs to be done to become successful.
Yeah, that's, it's great because you have such a rich history in our industry. And you couple that with, I got to say, that the guy I'm sitting next to and you are probably the two best networking people I have ever met in my entire life. Hands down, if you want to have a good time, set you two loose in a room. And before this thing is over, you guys are going to know everybody and everybody loves you. So,
that's called I am in.
Yeah, that is it. But I think, that sort of rich history and your ability to just be a real likable guy and be really good at networking has opened up this thing to where you do know so many different people in the industry. And it's like when people are getting, when they start using BAG for their due diligence, man, they're getting 40 years of relationships that are built. And so you're really able to sort of start leveraging not just the BPOs, but everything along the way. Now you're still active in the day to day and with customer interaction. Is that right on BAG?
Absolute. The way that BAG works is, except for the BPOs and the title searches, which I'm proud to say that the vendors have private labeled that product under the BAG logo. I'm basically the client with the vendors, and how is that beneficial to you, the investor? And I use this as the analogy. Typical investor may probably do 5 to 10 broker price opinions and title searches a year. BAG does hundreds every month. What does that mean to you as a small investor? I call it strength in numbers, because I'm able to go to a vendor and say, okay, I'm going to be doing 100, 150, 200 transactions with you on a monthly basis. Well, that puts all of us up to another level, because as we all know, many of the vendors only want to work with the guys that are doing 300, 400, 500 deals at a time. They don't really want to work with the one-off individual. Well, even though I'm doing the one-offs, I am doing that hundreds every month. So you as an investor are able to get the service levels that a bulk player would get, but more importantly, because of the volume, an individual investor is able to get pricing comparable to what a bigger player would get because of the volume that I do. So it's a win-win situation for everybody.
It's so much easier. Like it's setting up these relationships with different vendors for whether it's BPOs, whether it's title reports, property management, stuff along those lines, asset management. That takes time. And like you said, there's hurdles to overcome where some of them, they won't take your business if you're doing 5 a year. Then you got to be doing hundreds. So it makes it nice to where there's this one-stop shop for people to go get everything they need, only have to form one relationship and leverage 40 years of relationships. I got a question regarding BPOs. Do you have one vendor that provides BPOs?
Multiple options. And I'm glad that you mentioned BPOs as I did. Why use a third party vendor BPO versus trying to find a local realtor to go out and tell you what a property is worth? Number one, when you try and call a realtor, you're going to be lucky if you find one that wants to do it. And then if they do, they really only have one thing in mind, and that is to get a listing. Whereas if you utilize BAG and the third party vendors that are available through BAG, these third party vendors have vetted agents in every area of the United States. So BAG can do not only residential, but commercial BPOs nationwide. But with that being said, when an order is placed in with the BPO vendor, it's assigned to a local agent, and their job is to go out and do one thing and one thing only, and that's to get a value. Forget about the listing. In fact, there's a lot of times that the agent's names are not even on the actual report because their job was to go out, once again, not to get the listing, but to get a value. Once that agent completes that BPO, then it goes back to the third party vendors, quality control. If they do not agree with whatever the agent has come up with, then they will send it back to that agent for revisions, and then it goes back into QC. What does that mean for you, the investor? It's an extra set of eyes. You've got the agent doing it, you got QC doing it. And so that is a win-win right there. And there's no one vendor that can do it all. Yes, I've got number one vendor, number two, and number three, and number four, but there's a lot of times where it could be a rural. And then we get into a pricing arena, and one vendor may have a whole lot of coverage in that rural area where another one doesn't. So I pretty well know within about a 24-hour span if it is rural to be able to assign it to somewhere with an approved price because it's a higher price, as we all know, in a rural.
Sure.
Because there's drive times, etc.
Yeah, exactly. So we've kind of talked about BPOs, and I mentioned title reports. What services does BAG offer? I know we've got BPOs, which are evaluations of the property as far as how much it's worth, but what else do you guys offer?
Well, here's the great part. The BPOs and the title searches, I personally handle every single order that comes in and comes out. All of the other services, which consist of, if you want to originate a seller finance mortgage, I have a nationwide RMLO. If you want to do title curative work, or if you need assignments and recordings, I have a back office that does that. As I'm going through all these additional vendors that are part of the BAG network, here's how it works. Except for the BPOs and the title searches, those are truly the only things that I actually collect on from you, the investor, because I'm invoiced by the vendor. I invoice you, and then I pay the vendor. Everything else that I do, if you need the RMLO, if you need collateral review, if you need assignments and recordings, if you need curative work done, if you need release tracking done, if you need a traditional title company closing, if you need a self-directed IRA, if you need servicing, if you need skip tracing, if you need insurance, if you need to form a corporation, the list just goes on. All of these different vendors, because they are experts in what they do and within their areas, I put you, the investor, directly in touch with that particular vendor. If it's collateral review, I put you with that back office. If you need assignments and recordings, I put you with them. That way you are able to talk one-on-one with the vendor that's going to be doing your work. Because the last thing I want to do is get in the middle of a conversation and try and interpret which each party is doing. Bottom line is, when it's all said and done, you pay that vendor. You don't pay me.
Perfect. So you're the ultimate, again, the ultimate networker. You're matchmaking. That's what you do.
That's it. That's it. And matchmaking also, inventory in the website being baldwinadvisorygroup.com. Each one of the different items that I've been talking about, there's a section in the website that you can go directly to for that information. But I also, because I know a lot of sellers, as y'all do in the industry, there's a form on the website that buyers and or sellers can complete to let me know what kind of inventory do they want and where do they want it, or where do they have to sell it. Because I work with quite a few sellers that will have inventory that may not be on y'all's website. And so, for instance, if you completed the form and you said that you wanted a non-performing note in Idaho, and one of my sellers happens to have a non-performing note in Idaho, I put you directly with that seller and you deal with them from that point on. Once again, Rick, as you said, I'm bringing all of the different parties that are in this industry. It's a big industry in a small world, but you definitely want to be with the top-notch vendors in whatever arena you're trying to get something done.
So Bag Network, first stop shop for all due diligence. Sounds like you've got some inventory you can liquidate. You've been in the industry a while. What sort of, like, I don't know, do you have any like tips or tactics or maybe gotcha moments that people should watch out for in the due diligence side of things? Because you handle a lot of the due diligence. You've been doing it for 40 years. Anything that you want to tell the users, like here's some things that you should kind of keep an eye out for, or drive-bys or anything like that?
Absolutely. When we learned a long time ago in the industry that a lot of times sellers do not know what they have and what they're selling. Absolute. And it's up to you as an investor to truly understand the word due diligence and what it means. And the two main items that every investor should concentrate on is knowing the value and or condition of a property, and secondly, the taxes, liens, judgment arena. And investing is a fantastic business, but the couple of $100 that you may spend on an asset to do the due diligence, by not doing it, could literally cost you thousands of dollars. And being able to understand a collateral package, well, if you're a brand new investor, don't worry about it. BAG has the support team that can go through a collateral package and let you know what you do have, what you don't have, and what you should have in order to make an intelligent decision. So we have put all of the pieces together to help you as an investor become successful. But then there's work on the investor side too, because as I said, you've got to do those two main things in order to get the ball rolling. You don't want to take a seller's word for it because it's going to end up costing you money.
Yep. If you I know something I see on the platform and I've dealt with in the past is, a buyer's going to go to run their due diligence and they find, oh man, we're missing an assignment. There's a gap in the thing. And some people throw their hands up like, look, I'm not buying it. I'm not moving forward. And kind of what I found out is, well, there's a gap there, but you can fix it through something you mentioned earlier, curative work, title curative, right?
Correct.
And it's just called a gap assignment that you can get and fill in there. Does your group help getting those gap assignments? I imagine if they do, they probably got relationships. One of the biggest things is if you go to call somebody at, Cardona Capital or something like that, I might not have a relationship with them. Probably if you've been in the business 40 years or so as your vendors, they probably have those relationships. Am I right?
Absolute. And that is the reason that those vendors are part of the BAG network. My goal for all investors is to have the best vendors in the industry. And if for some reason something goes sideways or it's sloppy work done by a vendor, then they won't be part of the BAG network because people are relying on me to save them time, save them energy, and put them with the top people of the industry. One of the other things that I have put together, and which I'm really, really proud of, and it's called my Investor Friendly Realtor Network. And in that network, once again, we're going back to the realtors. Well, we all know there's a lot of them in the country. There's not a whole lot of them that really like working with investors because investors are a different breed. And I have put together a network of realtors that not only can list, sell, and property manage, but especially as a note investor, you need door lock changes, you need houses cleaned out, you need winterization, you need the grass cut, you need rehab. And so there's a little over 100 agents in the BAG network right now around the country. The goal is to have an investor-friendly realtor in every major city of the United States. So Rick and Brett can call Dan in Dayton and say, hey, I need to get this house cleaned out.
And that's such an important piece of the puzzle for any note investor.
Boots on the ground.
Is your boots on the ground. That can really make or break a deal. Mm-hmm. I know, I've had some that are dogs. I've had some that are just heroes, some heroes and some zeros. And the heroes will make your life so good. a lot of times by tapping into them through your network, you're also getting their network, because if they're good at working with investors, chances are they've worked with investors in the past and they've got their own network of people. Yeah, I've got somebody for lawn cuts. Yeah, I've got somebody to change the locks. Yeah, I've got somebody who can, patch a roof or fix a sink or do all that stuff. So it's just the boots on the ground. It's all about the networking. Who can you connect with? Who can you have a quality person? You need a quality person, and it sounds like using your network, you've got vetted industry experts who can help with that. So
Absolutely.
got a couple of questions.
Hold on, I got one from. Okay, here's a question from one of the groups. If you're can answer this, how accurate or percentage-wise are the BPOs your agency performs? How the accuracy of the BPOs?
So I think the valuations, like some people question, how accurate are these? And I kind of, in my opinion, I can send out 3 different agents to the same house, and guess what I'm going to get back? 3 different values. Because, if you get somebody who works with investors and they're used to dealing with distressed assets, to say, well, you've got an as is of this and it'll sell. And, if you're looking for a quick sale, or if you're going to put some work in, you've got an after repair value of XYZ. But I'd love to hear your opinion on what you feel is, how accurate are your BPOs that you're providing?
I would take all of the BPOs that I do, and I would put it up in, seriously, I would put it close to the 90+% of accuracy, being within 3 agents, being within maybe 2 to 3% difference in pricing. And there's ways to handle that as an investor also, because I've learned that you need options. There's a lot of people that don't really like the BPO arena, because exactly what y'all are saying, 3 different values. Well, first off, I've tried to work with my vendors and explain that my customer base are investors. And so as is a very important, but so is the after repair value. And so keeping in mind, and this is the hardest thing about people to understand about a BPO. Agents typically are not allowed to step foot on the property to do an exterior drive-by. Why? Well, COVID had an awful lot to do with it. But then secondly, people don't want to get shot by stepping on, and so you have to understand that when these agents take these pictures, they can't go into the backyard. A lot of times they can't go on to the side of the house. They can't get up on the roof. They're standing away from, they're on basically the curb. So that's something to consider on the as is value. I try and ask the agents to please give a visual of repairs. If it's obvious that the roof is damaged, or if the siding, address it and then estimate what, through their experience, what the cost is to come up with an after repair value. Going back to the values though, I also have another option. If you don't like what an agent's opinion is, I can also do what's called an AVM, automated valuation method. And this is all generated electronically, but in many cases, it's going to, part of the AVM is going to show every listing and every sold property within that neighborhood for the last couple of years.
Yeah, and that's really the key, right? I mean, it works on probably 80%. Anything that's in a metropolitan area where you've got a lot of activity, it gets difficult when you're in the rural areas. But on an AVM, and honestly, that's kind of where everybody starts their valuation when they're looking at an asset, whether you want to call it or not. But if you're looking at Zillow, if you're looking at Realtor.com and looking for the sold, I mean, you're just doing a manual version of an AVM. So, yeah, and I think those are obviously great solutions.
Well, remember in a BPO, you only have 3 recently sold comps and 3 listings in order to get the as-is value in the typical BPO. On the other hand, by doing the AVM, you're able to get a mass number of comps, both listing and sold, in that AVM. Is it more work on your part as an investor? Well, it's your investment. So how much work do you want to put in on it? So that's another option. And along with that, I can also attach a property condition report. That what happens on the property condition report, sometimes it's done by an agent, sometimes it's not, but they will go and take a current picture of the subject and then answer a multiple list of questions such as, is it a single family, multifamily, manufactured home? Yes or no. Is it occupied? Does it appear occupied or vacant? Is there any visible damage? Is it comparable to the neighborhood? Yes or no. It's all these kind of little questions. So once again, with the property condition report in an AVM, you have enhanced a BPO. So and so that's one of the things that I've tried to do is get different arenas to help assist the investors on how they wanted to approach their due diligence.
Good.
I like it.
Yeah. What do you got, Brett?
I don't know. I think you answered all the questions I was going to ask. I was going to ask about the valuation report. You answered that. A couple of other things. I've got those questions about the values of the BPOs.
So somebody wants to get in touch with you, Dickie. What's the
The website is baldwinadvisorygroup.com. My email is dbaldwin@baldwinadvisorygroup.com. And phone number is 936-447-4170.
There you go.
Cool.
All access pass to Dickie Baldwin. Good stuff, Dickie, man. We really appreciate you coming on here and going through Bag Network with us. I know it's going to be a huge help to people who are new to the industry.
I always send them that way. When anybody asks, hey, BPO, it's the end of the sentence is BPO equals Dickie Baldwin.
Yeah, it's really like we talked about. It makes so much sense because it's so difficult to go through and set up valuation or set up vendors and to set up these valuations. It takes a lot of effort, and you're not getting the strength in numbers. You're not getting the volume discount.
No.
And you get a volume discount when you're focused on Dickie. So
well, and we talked an awful lot about BPOs, but real quickly, it's just like if you go through the collateral package and the seller has a recent, within a year or so, O&E that had been done, say, like I said, a year ago, I have the ability, and I typically don't care who the other vendor was, I can do an update of that title search. And what that update is, it'll take all the information from the date that the last report was created up to the present. So that's a huge help to where you don't have to go and get a whole brand new
Increases,
report.
yeah, it increases the speed, where I would imagine reduces the cost. So
Correct.
perfect.
Correct.
Well, good stuff, man. Well, we will continue to send folks your way. We appreciate your time. Go out, try to enjoy some semi-retired life. Go hit some golf balls. Get out there and chase that little white ball around, man. It was good talking with you.
You too, guys.
All right. Well, it's been another episode of Paperstac Podcast. Look forward to you guys joining us. Comments, leave us your likes and subscribes, and we'll get you the next one coming out shortly. Have a good one.
Sounds good. See you.